Before we begin, we publish new content every day. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The notification sound pierced through my penthouse at 3:17 a.m., followed by another, then another. $12,000 for a private jet to Milan. $8,000 for the presidential suite at the Bulgari Hotel. $35,000 for a Patek Philippe watch. My blood turned to ice as I watched my life's work drain away, one transaction at a time. While my 28-year-old granddaughter Aurora posted Instagram photos from 30,000 feet above the Atlantic, my stolen credit card glinting in her perfectly manicured fingers. My name is Isabella Swan. I'm 60 years old. And I built Titan Capital from nothing but determination and sleepless nights on Wall Street. For 3 decades, I've been the woman other investors either feared or tried to emulate. I've weathered market crashes, hostile takeovers, and boardroom battles that would have broken lesser souls. But nothing prepared me for the betrayal that came from within my own home. Wrapped in designer clothes, and a smile I'd helped pay for since childhood. It started innocently enough 3 months ago. Aurora arrived at my door with 2 suitcases and tears streaming down her face, claiming she'd been evicted from her apartment due to creative stress and needed inspiration in a nurturing environment. Against my better judgment, I let her move into my Upper East Side penthouse. After all, she was Robert's daughter, my son's child. And despite his gambling addiction and constant failures, I still harbored hope that his bloodline might carry some spark of the ambition that built my empire. The signs were there from the beginning, but I ignored them like a fool drunk on maternal instinct. Designer handbags appeared overnight. Expensive restaurant deliveries stacked up at my door. Parties that lasted until dawn filled my home with strangers who looked at my art collection like they were pricing it for auction. When I questioned Aurora about her sudden wealth, she laughed that tinkling laugh that used to charm me and said, "Grandma, I have my own business ventures. You're too old to understand the modern economy." Robert, my 65-year-old son, always rushed to her defense. "Mom, she's young and figuring things out. Don't be so hard on her. You were always too demanding, even when I was her age." His words stung because somewhere deep down, I wondered if he was right. Had I been too focused on success to properly nurture the people I loved? Had my drive for excellence created a family that saw me as an ATM, rather than a person? The night everything changed, I was reviewing quarterly reports when my phone exploded with notifications. Transaction after transaction. Each one more outrageous than the last. $15,000 for diamond jewelry. $22,000 for a shopping spree at Via Montenapoleone. My corporate credit card, the one I'd given Aurora for emergencies, was being systematically emptied across 3 time zones. I rushed to her room, heart hammering against my ribs, and found it empty. The bed was unmade. Designer clothes scattered across the floor like evidence of a hasty escape. But what made my knees buckle was her phone, still charging on the nightstand, displaying her latest Instagram story. There she was, radiant and glowing in the first-class cabin of a private jet, showing off the Patek Philippe watch that cost more than most people's cars. The caption read, "Milan, here I come. Living my best life because you only get one." She'd tagged Robert in the post. The betrayal cut deeper than any business deal gone wrong. This wasn't just theft. It was calculated, premeditated, and flaunted in my face with the casual cruelty that only family can deliver. I called the bank immediately, freezing the card and reporting the fraud, but the damage was done. $150,000 vanished in less than 2 hours, and with it, the last shred of trust I had in the people who shared my blood. Sleep became impossible after that. I spent the following days methodically building my case, like the predator I'd always been in business. Using my connections and influence, I obtained security footage from my building that showed Aurora leaving with a man I recognized as Jordan, a former Titan Capital employee I'd fired for embezzlement 2 years prior. The footage was damning. They moved with purpose, loading suitcases filled with what I now realized were stolen goods funded by my money. Through private investigators and careful social media monitoring, I tracked their European adventure in real time. Aurora documented everything with the narcissistic precision of her generation. Photos of champagne at the Ritz in Paris, shopping bags from Hermès and Cartier, intimate dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants. Each image was a slap in the face. A reminder of how thoroughly I'd been played by someone I'd helped raise and loved unconditionally. The most devastating discovery came when I realized Jordan's involvement wasn't coincidental. Text message records revealed they'd been planning this for months, studying my routines, learning when I traveled for business, and calculating exactly how much they could steal before I noticed. Aurora had been playing the role of the struggling artist while systematically casing my life for the perfect moment to strike. When Aurora finally returned to New York 2 weeks later, tanned and glowing from her European escape, she walked into my penthouse like nothing had happened. Her arms were loaded with shopping bags from boutiques I couldn't afford despite my wealth, and she had the audacity to present me with a cheap souvenir from Milan, as if it could somehow balance the scales of her theft. I decided to give her one last chance at honesty. That evening, I prepared an elaborate dinner featuring all of her favorite dishes from childhood. The table was set with my finest china. Candles flickered against the windows overlooking Central Park, and for a moment, it felt like we might actually be a family again. I asked gentle questions about her trip, listening to her animated descriptions of museums and restaurants and designer shops, all funded by money she'd stolen from me. The rage building inside me was unlike anything I'd experienced in decades of high-stakes negotiations. This wasn't business. It was personal, in the most devastating way possible. When she finished her performance, I set down my wine glass and let the silence stretch between us like a blade. "Aurora," I said finally, my voice carrying the chill of a coming storm. "We need to discuss the $150,000 you stole from Titan Capital." Her laughter filled the room, bright and careless. "Grandma, I told you I have my own income streams. Stop being paranoid just because you're getting old and confused." Robert, who had joined us for dinner, immediately jumped to her defense, as he always did. "Mom, don't start trouble over nothing. Aurora is doing fine on her own. You need to stop being so suspicious of everyone." I reached for my laptop and connected it to the large screen mounted on my dining room wall. The first slide showed security footage of Aurora and Jordan leaving my building at 2:45 a.m., their luggage bulging with what I now knew were my possessions converted to cash. The second slide displayed her Instagram photos, including close-ups of the Patek Philippe watch, as she posed in the private jet I'd unknowingly purchased for her escape. The third slide was the most damaging. Crystal-clear security camera footage from the Patek Philippe boutique in Milan, showing Aurora's face, as she smiled triumphantly, while using my corporate credit card to make the purchase. The timestamp, GPS coordinates, and transaction details created an unbreakable chain of evidence. "Would you like to see more?" I asked, my voice growing harder with each word. "Perhaps the footage of you partying at that underground club in Paris while telling me you were seeking artistic inspiration at the Louvre." The color drained from Aurora's face as the reality of her situation finally penetrated her delusions. "I can pay you back," she stammered. "I was just borrowing it temporarily." Robert shot to his feet, his face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "Isabella, what are you trying to do? Destroy your own granddaughter? You've always been too harsh with her." I laughed, a sound devoid of warmth or humor. "Destroy her? She destroyed herself the moment she decided to steal from me. This isn't borrowing, Robert. This is fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy with a known criminal. Jordan isn't just her boyfriend, he's my former employee who helped plan this entire operation." I placed a thick manila envelope on the table containing copies of all my evidence, police reports, and legal documentation. "Detective Marcus Thorne is waiting for my call. Aurora has two choices. She can sign a confession, agree to full restitution, and face the legal consequences of her actions, or I can hold a press conference tomorrow morning and let the entire financial world know that Isabella Swan's own granddaughter is a common thief." Aurora stood so quickly that her chair toppled backward, crashing to the floor like my illusions about family loyalty. "You're evil!" she screamed. "You're trying to ruin my life!" I pointed toward the door, my hand steady despite the earthquake of emotions tearing through my chest. "No, Aurora, you ruined your own life. I'm simply ensuring that you face the consequences." The next morning, Aurora and Jordan were arrested at JFK Airport as they attempted to flee the country with tickets purchased using the last of my stolen money. The image of Aurora in handcuffs, her face streaked with mascara and disbelief, appeared on the front page of every financial newspaper in the city. The woman who had once been my bright, beautiful granddaughter was now just another criminal being led away by federal marshals. Robert called me dozens of times that day, alternating between fury and desperate pleas for mercy. When I finally answered, his voice was broken. "Mom, please. She's my daughter. She's your granddaughter. Family doesn't do this to family. Family doesn't steal from family either," I replied, my voice steady despite the tears flowing down my cheeks. "You taught her that she could take whatever she wanted without consequences. Now she's learning that actions have prices, and some debts must be paid in full." The trial lasted 3 months and became a media sensation. The Titan heiress fraud case dominated headlines as Aurora's lawyers painted me as a vindictive old woman who had entrapped an innocent young girl. They claimed I had given her permission to use the credit card, that I was suffering from age-related confusion, and that I was jealous of her youth and beauty. I endured every accusation with the same composure I'd shown in 1,000 boardroom battles. When I took the stand to testify, I looked directly at Aurora and spoke the truth clearly and without emotion. I described the months of manipulation, the calculated timing of her theft, and the partnership with Jordan that proved this was no impulsive mistake but a carefully planned crime. The evidence was overwhelming. Aurora was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison and ordered to pay full restitution plus penalties. Jordan received 4 years after his previous record was considered. Robert's gambling debts, which had motivated his complicity in Aurora's schemes, were exposed during the investigation, and I made the painful decision to cut all financial support for his lifestyle. 6 months after the trial ended, I received a letter from Aurora in prison. Her handwriting was different now, smaller and more careful, lacking the bold flourishes that had once decorated birthday cards and thank you notes. She apologized for everything and asked if there might be a chance for forgiveness when she was released. I sat in my penthouse office that night, looking out at the glittering lights of Manhattan, and thought about second chances. The city had always been unforgiving to those who showed weakness, but it also rewarded those brave enough to start over. After much consideration, I wrote back with an offer. If Aurora completed her sentence without incident and enrolled in a legitimate job training program upon release, I would help her find employment at a company where she could earn an honest living. A year later, Aurora was released on good behavior. True to her word, she had completed a business administration program and seemed genuinely committed to rebuilding her life through honest work. Our first meeting was awkward and painful, filled with tears and halting apologies, but I could see genuine remorse in her eyes for the first time since childhood. I found her a position at a small investment firm owned by a colleague who specialized in helping ex-convicts reintegrate into society. The work was entry-level and the pay modest, but Aurora threw herself into it with an intensity I hadn't seen since she was a child, learning to ride her first bicycle. She lived in a modest apartment in Queens, took the subway to work every day, and slowly began to understand the value of money earned through honest effort. Robert took longer to change, but the shock of seeing his daughter in prison had finally broken through his self-deception. He entered treatment for his gambling addiction and started working with a debt counselor to address the financial wreckage of his past choices. Our relationship remained strained, but he stopped asking me for money and started asking for advice on how to rebuild his life. Today, 3 years after that horrible night when my phone lit up with theft notifications, I still live in my penthouse overlooking Central Park. Titan Capital continues to thrive under my leadership, and my reputation in the financial world has only grown stronger after the trial proved that I would not compromise my principles for anyone, including family. Aurora visits me once a month now, always bringing small gifts she can actually afford and updates on her progress at work. She was promoted to junior analyst last year and is saving money to attend night school for her MBA. Sometimes I catch glimpses of the bright, curious child she used to be before greed and entitlement corrupted her heart. The scars of betrayal will never fully heal, but they've taught me valuable lessons about the difference between love and enabling, between family and mere blood relations, and between the mercy that heals and the mercy that destroys. I learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is refusing to rescue someone from the consequences of their own choices. New York remains the city of dreams, just as it was when I first arrived here as a young woman with nothing but ambition and determination. But now I understand that dreams worth having require honest work, genuine relationships built on mutual respect, and the courage to defend your values, even when it costs you everything you thought you wanted. Standing at my window tonight, watching the endless river of lights flowing through the streets below, I feel something I haven't experienced in years. Peace. Not the peace of someone who has avoided conflict, but the peace of someone who faced the darkness within her own family and chose justice over comfort, truth over convenience, and integrity over false harmony. The next chapter of my story is still being written, and for the first time in decades, I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, drop a like and a comment, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on our new content.